The medical bay of the Galactic Research Station Nexus 7 buzzed with nervous energy. Dr. Zara Keth Volan lay curled on the specialized birthing platform, her silver-gray fur rippling with each contraction that racked her lupine frame. The Kethtar were proud warrior healers, but pregnancy had made her vulnerable in ways her species rarely experienced. "Keep your distance," growled Commander Thex through the intercom, his own Kethtar features stern behind the observation window. "The hormonal changes make expectant females extremely aggressive. One wrong move, and she'll tear through anyone who approaches." The assembled medical team of various alien species nodded nervously. 3 Zalithian doctors with their crystalline skin flickered anxious colors. 2 Morthan physicians adjusted their breathing apparatus, clearly uncomfortable. Even the usually confident Iridian head nurse kept her 4 arms crossed defensively. "But sir," Dr. Nexpo's voice quavered, "the birthing complications require direct intervention. The pup is positioned incorrectly, and without manual adjustment, both mother and child will die." Through the reinforced glass, they watched Zara's golden eyes flash with primal fury. Her claws had already scored deep marks in the metal platform. When a medical drone had attempted to approach earlier, she had crushed it with a single swipe, despite her weakened state. Captain Marcus Chen stood quietly in the corner, observing. The human had been assigned as cultural liaison to the mixed species station only 3 months ago, but he had already earned respect for his calm demeanor and unusual problem-solving abilities. Unlike the other species present, humans were still considered newcomers to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years prior. "Perhaps we could use restraints?" suggested Dr. Nexpo desperately. "Impossible!" Commander Thex's ears flattened. "The stress would kill both of them instantly. Kethtar physiology cannot handle forced immobilization during birth. It triggers a fatal shock response. Sedatives would harm the pup's development and make the birth complications worse." The medical team exchanged helpless glances. In the birthing chamber, Zara's breathing became more labored. Her mate, Warrior Vex Colon, paced frantically outside the station's docking bay, having been denied entry due to the same aggression protocols. "What about her pack bonds?" asked the Iridian nurse. "Surely someone she trusts could approach." "She's been away from her homeworld for 2 years on the research mission," Commander Thex explained grimly. "Her only pack member here is her mate, and even he triggered her defensive responses yesterday when he tried to bring her food." Captain Chen stepped forward. "Commander, what's her name?" The room fell silent. Commander Thex's ears twitched in confusion. "Her designation is Dr. Zara Keth Volan, Research Specialist Class 7. "No," Chen said quietly. "Her name. What did her pack call her before she became a doctor?" The Kethtar commander's expression shifted to something approaching surprise. That information wouldn't be in her official records. But you know it." A long pause. Through the window, Zara's condition was visibly deteriorating. Her silver fur had lost its luster, and her movements were becoming sluggish. "Moon Whisper," Commander Thex finally admitted. "Her birth pack called her Moon Whisper, but human, you cannot possibly think to approach her. Your species lacks any natural defenses, and she outweighs you by 60 kilograms of pure muscle." Marcus was already moving toward the chamber's entry protocols. "What's the worst that could happen?" "She could kill you instantly," the Iridian nurse said bluntly. "And if no one helps her? She and her pup will both die within the hour." Marcus nodded and began the decontamination sequence. The alien medical staff watched in amazement as he showed no signs of fear or hesitation. "Human," Dr. Nexpo called out, "even if you survive initial contact, you lack the medical training for the required intervention." "Then guide me through it," Marcus replied simply, stepping into the airlock. Dr. Keth Volan earned her xenobiology doctorate studying interspecies cooperation. "I've read her papers. She understands that sometimes survival requires trust. As the inner door cycled open, every being on the medical deck held their breath. Zara's head snapped up immediately, her lips pulling back to reveal formidable fangs. A low growl rumbled from her throat that would have sent most predators fleeing. But Marcus didn't flee. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to one knee just inside the door, making himself smaller, less threatening. He kept his empty hands visible and his movements deliberate and calm. "Hello, Moon Whisper," he said softly. The growling stopped abruptly. Zara's ears, which had been pinned back aggressively, flickered forward with confusion. No one outside her birth pack had used that name in over a decade. "I know you're scared," Marcus continued, his voice gentle but carrying clearly through the chamber. "I know everything hurts, and nothing feels safe. But your pup needs help, and I'm here to provide it." Zara's golden eyes fixed on his face, searching. Her nostrils flared as she scented him, trying to understand this strange creature who somehow knew her true name and showed no fear. "I'm not pack," Marcus acknowledged, slowly shifting to sit cross-legged on the floor. "I'm not even the same species, but I'm here because someone needs to be, and I'm volunteering." Through the observation window, the medical team watched in stunned silence as Zara's aggressive posture began to relax slightly. Her claws retracted partially, though she remained ready to strike. "My species has a saying," Marcus continued, maintaining eye contact. "It takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes that village includes unexpected members." He slowly reached into his pocket, movements telegraphed clearly, and withdrew a small cloth bundle. Unwrapping it revealed a handful of sweet grass seeds, a delicacy among Kethtar that he had researched and obtained from the station's hydroponics lab. "A gift," he said, placing the seeds on the floor between them. "From one parent to another." Zara's eyes widened. The scent of the sweet grass reached her, triggering memories of home and safety. More importantly, the gesture demonstrated knowledge of her culture and respect for her condition. Another contraction hit, more severe than before. Zara's control wavered as pain overwhelmed her, and for a moment her protective instincts flared again. But Marcus didn't move. He remained sitting calmly, hands open, voice steady. "I know it hurts, Moon Whisper, but you're the strongest being on this station. Your research has saved countless lives across 3 systems. You can do this." The combination of her true name, cultural respect, and genuine encouragement pierced through the hormonal haze of aggression. Zara found herself studying this peculiar human who treated her not as a dangerous animal, but as a person deserving of dignity. "The doctors need to help you," Marcus said as her breathing steadied slightly. "But they're afraid. Will you let me be your voice? Will you trust me to make sure they do this right?" For the first time since her labor had begun, Zara spoke. Her voice was strained but clear. You know my name. Commander Thex told me. He's been worried about you." "Why would you risk this? I could kill you." Marcus smiled gently. "Because every child deserves a chance to be born safely, because every mother deserves support during the hardest moment of her life, and because sometimes doing the right thing means taking risks." Zara considered this. Another contraction was building, and she could feel her pup's distress growing. Her medical training told her that time was running out. "What do you need me to do?" she asked quietly. The medical team erupted in whispers of amazement, but Marcus kept his attention focused entirely on Zara. "I need you to let Dr. Nexpo guide my hands to help your pup. I need you to trust that I won't hurt either of you. And I need you to keep breathing and stay strong." Zara was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, she extended one clawed hand toward him. "My name," she said, "is Moon Whisper Bright Star Hunt True Keth Volan. You may use my full name. Marcus reached out and gently touched her extended claw with his fingertips. It's an honor to meet you, Moon Whisper, Bright Star Hunt True. I'm Marcus Chen, and I'm here to help. The touch sent a shock through the observation deck. Physical contact during Kethtar birthing was unprecedented with non-pack members, yet Zara didn't attack. Instead, she seemed to draw strength from the connection. Dr. Nexpo, Marcus called without breaking eye contact with Zara, talk me through what needs to happen. As the Zilithian doctor began explaining the procedure through the intercom, Marcus slowly moved closer to Zara, maintaining the gentle contact and speaking quietly to keep her calm. For the first time in hours, hope began to bloom in the medical bay. The impossible was happening. A human was forming a temporary pack bond with an expectant Kethtar mother, and it might just save 2 lives. The next 30 minutes tested everyone's resolve. Dr. Nexpo's crystalline form flickered rapidly between colors as he guided Marcus through the delicate procedure via intercom, his voice tight with concentration. The Zilithian had performed hundreds of births across dozens of species, but never through an untrained intermediary. Feel along the lower abdominal wall, Dr. Nexpo instructed. The pup's positioning has shifted since the last scan. We need current information. Marcus placed his hands gently on Zara's swollen belly, trying to interpret what he felt through her thick fur. Her skin was fever-hot, and he could feel the strong muscles beneath tensing with each contraction. There! Zara gasped, guiding his hands to the right position. Can you feel the pup's head? Marcus closed his eyes, concentrating. Human hands, while lacking claws or specialized sensory organs, possessed remarkable sensitivity. After a moment, he nodded. The head is facing the wrong direction, he reported to Dr. Nexpo. And I think, is the umbilical cord wrapped around something? The Zilithian doctor's crystalline skin flashed bright orange with alarm. That's exactly what we feared. The cord has become entangled around the pup's neck. We need to reposition immediately, or oxygen flow will be completely cut off. Commander Thex pressed against the observation window. Dr. Nexpo, that's an extremely dangerous procedure even for an experienced physician. If we don't attempt it, both mother and child die within minutes, the doctor replied grimly. Human Chen, I need you to listen very carefully. What followed was the most intense medical tutorial of Marcus's life. With Dr. Nexpo providing step-by-step guidance and Zara's own medical knowledge filling in crucial details, Marcus began the delicate process of repositioning the unborn pup. Gentle pressure on the head, Dr. Nexpo instructed. Rotate counterclockwise while supporting the torso. Moon Whisper, you'll need to help by adjusting your position. Zara gritted her teeth and shifted as directed, her claws leaving new scratches in the birthing platform. Despite her pain, she maintained the fragile trust she had established with Marcus. I can feel the cord, Marcus reported, sweat beading on his forehead. It's definitely wrapped around the neck, but loosely. I think I can work it free. Be extremely careful, Dr. Nexpo warned. Too much pressure and you could make the entanglement worse. The minutes stretched like hours. The assembled medical team watched through the observation window as Marcus worked with infinite patience, his hands guided by instructions from Dr. Nexpo and intuitive feedback from Zara herself. The trust between human and Kethtar had deepened into something that transcended species boundaries. How did you know? Zara asked during a brief respite between contractions. About my name. Marcus continued his careful manipulations as he answered. Commander Thex mentioned that your aggressive response was triggered by feeling isolated from pack bonds. It seemed logical that using your pack name instead of your professional designation might help you remember that you're not alone. But how did you know he would tell you? I didn't, Marcus admitted. I gambled that concern for your well-being would override protocol. Kethtar loyalty runs deep. Zara studied his face. You took an enormous risk based on a guess about cultural psychology. Sometimes that's what leadership requires, Marcus said simply. Besides, I've read your papers on interspecies cooperation. You wrote extensively about how shared purpose can create temporary pack bonds between different species. You're using my own research to save my life? I'm hoping your research was correct. Despite her pain, Zara managed a weak laugh. You humans are stranger than I anticipated. Different doesn't mean wrong, Marcus replied, gently working the umbilical cord free. There, Dr. Nexpo, the cord is clear. The relief in the observation room was palpable. Dr. Nexpo's crystalline form shifted to a calmer blue. Excellent work. Now we need to guide the pup into proper position for birth. The final phase proved just as challenging. Keth-Tar births typically involved multiple pack members providing physical and emotional support. With only Marcus available to fulfill this role, he found himself adapting human techniques to alien physiology under expert guidance. In human births, we sometimes use visualization techniques to help the mother focus, Marcus explained to Zara. Would that help you? What kind of visualization? Picture your pup healthy and strong. Think about the moment you'll first see their face. Zara closed her eyes, following his suggestion. As she did, Marcus noticed her muscle tension beginning to ease slightly. The power of imagination, it seemed, transcended species boundaries. I can see them, Zara whispered. Silver fur like mine, but with Vex's blue eyes. What are they doing in your vision? Taking their first breath, looking around with curiosity instead of fear. Marcus smiled. Hold that image. Your pup can feel your emotional state. Show them a world worth being born into. As if responding to their mother's shift in mood, the pup began moving into proper position. Marcus could feel the change immediately. Dr. Nexpo, we're getting natural rotation now. The head is aligning correctly. Outstanding. The pup is responding to reduced maternal stress. Continue with whatever you're doing. What followed was unlike anything the medical team had ever witnessed. Human and Keth-Tar worked together in perfect synchronization, combining medical knowledge with intuitive understanding. Marcus provided physical support while helping Zara maintain emotional focus through breathing techniques and positive visualization. I can feel the head crowning, Zara announced, her voice filled with excitement rather than pain for the first time in hours. Almost there, Marcus encouraged. Your pup is ready to meet the universe. Dr. Nexpo's voice took on an excited tone. I can see the head on the monitors. Healthy vital signs. One more strong push should do it. Zara gathered her strength for the final effort. Marcus placed one hand on her shoulder for support and kept the other ready to assist with the birth. Now, Moon Whisper, bring your child into the world. With a final, determined push, Zara's pup slipped into Marcus's waiting hands. The small form was immediately active, tiny lungs filling with air as the newborn released their first cry. Perfect, Dr. Nexpo announced, his crystalline form now glowing with joy. Healthy respiration, good color, strong movement. You've done it. Marcus carefully placed the pup on Zara's chest, watching as mother and child met for the first time. The newborn Keth-Tar was indeed silver-furred with brilliant blue eyes, exactly as Zara had visualized. Hello, little one, Zara whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Welcome to the pack. The pup nuzzled against their mother, instinctively seeking warmth and food. Within moments, the newborn had settled into contented nursing. Through the observation window, the medical team erupted in celebration. Commander Thex's usually stern expression had given way to obvious relief and pride. Remarkable, Dr. Nexpo said over the intercom. In 40 years of xenobiology, I've never seen successful cross-species pack bonding during birth. This will revolutionize our understanding of emergency medical procedures. Marcus remained seated beside Zara, watching mother and child with satisfaction. The crisis had passed, but he sensed his role wasn't quite finished. "What will you name them?" he asked quietly. Zara considered carefully. "Brightheart Starwalker Hopebearer," she finally said, "for the hope that brought them safely into the world. It's a beautiful name." "They should know you," Zara said, looking at Marcus intently. "You're pack now, if you're willing. What you did today, it changes things." Marcus felt the weight of what she was offering. Pack bonds among Kethtar were sacred, extending far beyond simple friendship. "I'm honored," he said simply. "But your mate might have questions about a human becoming part of your pack structure." "Vex will understand once I explain. You risked your life to save our child." "That makes you family." As if summoned by the mention of his name, the medical bay doors slid open to admit Warrior Vex Colon. The large male Kethtar had clearly been waiting anxiously outside, and his relief at seeing his family safe was overwhelming. "Zara," he breathed, approaching slowly. "Are you—" "We're fine," she assured him. "Come meet your child, and come thank the human who made this possible." Vex Colon's amber eyes found Marcus, studying the human with new respect. "You stayed with her through the birth?" "She did most of the work," Marcus replied diplomatically. "I just provided an extra pair of hands." "You provided much more than that," Zara corrected. "You provided trust when I had lost the ability to trust. You reminded me that I wasn't alone." Vex Colon nodded slowly, understanding passing between the three of them. "Then you are pack friend to us both, Marcus Chen. Our child will know your name and your courage." The medical team began final preparations for post-birth care, but Marcus found himself reluctant to leave. Something had changed during those intense hours, something that went beyond mere medical emergency. "Dr. Nexpo," Commander Thex's voice came over the intercom, "what are the implications of today's events for future emergency protocols?" The Zalithian doctor's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. "If humans can form temporary pack bonds with Kethtar during crisis situations, it suggests possibilities for other interspecies medical emergencies. We may need to completely revise our approach to xenological emergency care." Marcus looked around at the various alien faces watching him through the observation window. Each species present had their own unique challenges and strengths. Today had proven that those differences didn't have to be barriers. "Commander," Marcus called out, "I'd like to volunteer for expanded medical liaison duties. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that sometimes the best medicine isn't technical knowledge. Sometimes it's just being willing to sit with someone who's afraid and remind them they're not alone." Commander Thex's ears perked forward with interest. "You're suggesting humans could serve as interspecies emotional support during medical crises?" "I'm suggesting that every species brings unique strengths to problem solving. Humans seem to have a talent for forming quick emotional connections across species lines. Maybe that's something worth developing." Zara looked up from her nursing pup. "He's right. What happened here today wasn't just about medical technique. It was about trust and communication across fundamental differences." As the immediate crisis faded into relief and celebration, Marcus realized that this moment would likely change the trajectory of his career, and possibly interspecies relations throughout the station. The expectant alien wolf had been untouchable until one human knelt and whispered her name, but the story was far from over. 3 weeks later, the ripple effects of that unprecedented birth were still spreading throughout the galactic medical community. Marcus found himself at the center of a revolution he had never intended to start. "The Kethtar Matriarchy has formally requested human medical liaisons for all their off-world births," Commander Thex announced during the weekly staff meeting. "They're calling it the Moon Whisper Protocol in honor of Dr. Keth Volan." Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The conference room contained representatives from 7 different species, all of whom had been studying the implications of cross-species pack bonding during medical emergencies. Additionally, Commander Thex continued, the Iridian Medical Consortium wants to establish formal training programs for humans in interspecies emotional support techniques. Dr. Nexpo's report has been classified as a breakthrough in xenological emergency medicine. Dr. Nexpo's crystalline form glowed with satisfaction. The birth itself was remarkable enough, but the psychological data we gathered is revolutionary. Human empathy response patterns show unique compatibility with distressed alien physiologies. How so? Asked Dr. Miran Soto, one of the few other humans stationed on Nexus 7. Most species have evolved specific emotional support behaviors that only work within their own kind, Dr. Nexpo explained. Kethtar respond to pack hierarchy, Zilithians to harmonic resonance, Iridians to synchronized movement patterns. But humans seem capable of intuitively adapting their support behaviors to match what other species need. Marcus thought about this. Maybe it's because we're still newcomers to the galactic community. We haven't locked ourselves into rigid interaction patterns with other species yet. Or perhaps, suggested a soft voice from the doorway, it's because humans evolved as persistence hunters who succeeded through cooperation rather than individual strength. Everyone turned to see Dr. Zara Keth Volan entering with her 3-week-old pup cradled against her chest. Brightheart Starwalker Hope-Bearer had grown noticeably since birth, their silver fur now thick and lustrous, blue eyes alert and curious. Zara, Marcus smiled, standing immediately. How are you feeling? Strong enough to return to light duty, she replied, settling into a chair that accommodated her larger Kethtar frame. Vex is handling primary pup care while I attend meetings, but I wanted to be present for this discussion. Commander Thex nodded approvingly. Your insights would be valuable. You experienced the human empathy response firsthand. Zara adjusted her pup's position, allowing the small Kethtar to peer around at the assembled beings with fearless curiosity. What Marcus did wasn't just medical assistance. He somehow understood that I needed to be seen as a person rather than a patient. Most medical protocols focus on treating symptoms while ignoring the individual's emotional state. But that's standard practice, Dr. Miran protested. Emotional involvement can compromise medical judgment. Can it? Marcus asked quietly. Or does emotional disconnection sometimes create bigger problems than it solves? He thought back to the moment when he had knelt and spoken Zara's true name. Commander Thex, when you told me her pack name, what made you decide to share that information? The Kethtar commander's ears flicked thoughtfully. Honestly? Desperation. Standard protocols were failing, and you asked a question that forced me to think about her as an individual rather than a case file. Exactly. The medical emergency wasn't just physical. Zara was emotionally isolated and terrified. Addressing that isolation was actually part of the medical solution. Dr. Nexpo's crystalline form pulsed in agreement. The physiological improvements began immediately after emotional contact was established. Stress hormone levels dropped, muscle tension decreased, and labor progression improved. The emotional support directly enhanced the medical outcome. Which brings us to the current situation, Commander Thex said, pulling up a holographic display. We've received requests from 17 different species for human medical liaison services. The Galactic Medical Council wants to establish formal protocols based on what happened here. Marcus studied the data streaming across the display. Medical emergency reports, successful intervention rates, and failure analyses from across the galactic community painted a clear picture. Traditional xenological medicine was excellent at treating physical symptoms, but struggled with the psychological complexities of cross-species care. What kind of training would be required? He asked. That's what we need to determine, Dr. Nexpo replied. Each species has different emotional support needs during medical crises. We'd need to develop comprehensive understanding of how human empathy techniques can be adapted for various alien psychologies. Zara shifted her pup to her other arm. May I suggest something? Of course. Don't over-formalize this. What made Marcus effective wasn't following a protocol. It was his willingness to see me as an individual and respond to my specific needs in that moment. If you turn this into rigid procedures, you'll lose the very flexibility that makes it work. Marcus nodded emphatically. She's right. I didn't succeed because I followed rules. I succeeded because I paid attention to what she needed and tried to provide it. But surely some structure is necessary, Dr. Moran argued. We can't just send untrained humans into medical emergencies and hope empathy alone will work. Not untrained, Marcus corrected, but trained in principles rather than procedures. Teach cultural awareness, basic psychology, stress management techniques, and medical safety protocols. Then trust the human intuition that makes this work. Commander Thex leaned back in his chair. You're proposing a new category of medical professional. Not quite doctor, not quite counselor, but something uniquely human. Interspecies medical empathy specialists, suggested Dr. Nexpo. Humans trained to provide emotional support and communication bridges during xenological medical emergencies. As they discussed the concept, Marcus found himself thinking about broader implications. Humans had entered the galactic community as technological equals, but cultural newcomers. They brought fresh perspectives precisely because they hadn't yet established rigid patterns of interspecies interaction. There's something else to consider, Zara said quietly. Brightheart will grow up in a universe where humans and Kethtar can form pack bonds. That's never happened before in our species' history. She looked down at her pup, who was now drowsing contentedly. This child will have a fundamentally different understanding of interspecies relationships than any Kethtar before them. And Marcus isn't the only human who will be involved in their upbringing. Marcus felt the weight of that responsibility. You're saying this is about more than medical emergencies. I'm saying that what happened here demonstrates something unprecedented. Humans have a unique capacity to form rapid emotional bonds across species lines. That has implications far beyond medicine. Commander Thex's expression had grown thoughtful. Diplomatic implications, trade negotiations, conflict resolution, crisis management, cultural exchange programs, added Dr. Moran, educational initiatives, scientific collaboration. Dr. Nexpo's crystalline form brightened. If humans can serve as interspecies emotional bridges, they could help solve communication problems that have persisted for centuries. Marcus looked around at the excited faces surrounding him. The conversation had evolved far beyond the original medical emergency into something that could reshape how different species interacted throughout the galaxy. This is moving pretty fast, he said carefully. A few weeks ago, I was just trying to help one person in labor. Now you're talking about revolutionizing interspecies relations. Sometimes that's how change happens, Zara said gently. One person choosing to kneel down and speak someone's true name. Her pup stirred, opening bright blue eyes to study Marcus with unmistakable recognition. The small Kethtar made a soft chittering sound that clearly indicated contentment with his presence. Brightheart knows you, Zara observed with amusement. Pack bonds form early in our species. Marcus reached out carefully, allowing the pup to sniff his finger before gently stroking the soft fur. Hello, little one. You're going to grow up in an interesting universe. We all are, Commander Thex said thoughtfully. The question is whether we're prepared for the responsibilities that come with this opportunity. Over the following hour, they outlined preliminary plans for the new Medical Empathy Specialist program. Marcus would lead the development effort, working with Dr. Nexpo and other xenobiologists to identify effective techniques for each major species group. The Zilithian Harmony Council has already volunteered to host the first interspecies training facility, Dr. Nexpo announced. They're fascinated by human harmonic adaptability. And the Morthan Collective wants to study how human emotional support affects their hive mind medical responses, added Commander Thex. As the meeting concluded, Marcus realized that his life had fundamentally changed direction. He had come to Nexus 7 as a cultural liaison, but he was apparently leaving as the founder of an entirely new field of interspecies medicine. Nervous? Zara asked as the others filed out, leaving just the two of them and Brightheart. Terrified, Marcus admitted honestly. 3 weeks ago, I helped deliver one baby. Now I'm supposed to develop training protocols that could affect medical care across the entire galaxy. You're not supposed to do anything, Zara corrected gently. You're choosing to help because that's who you are. The same reason you chose to kneel down and trust that a scared new mother might listen to reason. Marcus watched Brightheart's peaceful breathing, thinking about the future this child would inherit. What if I'm wrong? What if human empathy isn't as universal as everyone thinks? Then we'll learn that too, Zara said simply. But I suspect you're worrying about the wrong thing. What do you mean? Zara stood, cradling her pup securely. I don't think human empathy is universal. I think human courage is. You didn't succeed because you instinctively knew how to help a Kethtar in labor. You succeeded because you were brave enough to try. As she headed toward the door, she paused to look back at him. That's what the galaxy needs, Marcus. Not perfect understanding, but the courage to reach across differences and offer help anyway. Left alone in the conference room, Marcus contemplated the path ahead. The expectant alien wolf had indeed been untouchable until one human knelt and whispered her name. But perhaps the real story wasn't about what made her touchable again. Perhaps it was about what made him willing to reach out in the first place. Outside the conference room windows, the vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, filled with countless worlds and billions of beings from hundreds of different species. Somewhere out there, others were struggling with crises that conventional medicine couldn't solve. Marcus stood and walked to the window, placing his hand against the cool transparisteel. Tomorrow, he would begin developing training programs that might help his fellow humans serve as bridges across the gaps between species. It was ambitious, maybe impossible, but definitely necessary. After all, everyone deserved someone willing to kneel down and speak their true name when the universe felt too frightening to face alone. In the distance, a transport ship was approaching the station, carrying new arrivals from across the galaxy. Among them might be the next person who would need what humans uniquely had to offer, not superior technology or greater wisdom, but simply the courage to see others as individuals worth helping. Marcus smiled and headed back to his quarters to begin preparation for the work ahead. The galaxy was about to discover what humans did best, and he intended to make sure they were ready for it.